The cracked mirror in the servants' quarters showed Liana everything she needed to know about herself: scarred, worthless, damaged. Her fingertips traced the jagged line that ran from her left temple down to her jaw, a permanent reminder of the night her pack burned, the night she failed to save anyone. "Move faster, Runt!" Madame Vesper's cane struck the wooden floor inches from where Liana knelt, scrubbing the marble tiles of the Crimson Moon Pack's Omega quarters. The Alpha King arrives within the hour for the bonding ceremony. If these floors aren't spotless, you'll be sleeping in the cellars again. Liana's wolf, Saria, whimpered inside her mind. We've been scrubbing for 6 hours. Our hands are bleeding. Better bleeding hands than another night in the cold, Liana whispered back internally, dunking her raw fingers into the bucket of ice-cold water mixed with wolfsbane, a special torture reserved for the lowest Omegas. The poison wouldn't kill them, but it burned enough to remind them of their place. "Did you hear?" 2 Omega servants whispered as they passed, carrying silken sheets. Alpha King Theron Blackstone hasn't found his mate in 12 years of searching. They say he's cursed. Cursed or not, every unmated female will be presented tonight, even the damaged ones. Their eyes flicked to Liana with barely concealed disgust. Liana kept her head down, scrubbing harder. She wouldn't be presented. Madame Vesper had made that clear. She was too damaged, too weak. Her wolf had barely survived the attack that destroyed the Moonweaver pack 3 years ago. While other Omegas could still hope for mates, Liana's scars ran deeper than skin. Her wolf could barely surface anymore, trapped beneath layers of trauma and wolfsbane exposure. A commotion erupted outside. Through the tall windows, Liana glimpsed the arrival of the most spectacular convoy she'd ever seen. Black wolves, each one massive and bearing the Royal Guard insignia, flanked a magnificent obsidian carriage. But it wasn't the grandeur that made her freeze. It was the scent. Even through the wolfsbane burning her nostrils, even through the closed windows, something hit her like lightning. Pine forests after rain, winter storms, and something else, something that made Saria suddenly slam against her mental barriers, fighting to surface for the first time in 2 years. "Mate!" Saria howled, causing Liana to drop her scrubbing brush with a clatter. "What are you doing, you clumsy?" Madame Vesper's words cut off as Liana's eyes flickered gold for just a second before fading back to their dull brown. I need air," Liana gasped, her chest tightening. "You need to finish your work." Madame Vesper raised her cane, but before it could strike, the great doors of the Omega quarters exploded open. Standing in the doorway was the most magnificent male Liana had ever seen. 7 feet tall, with midnight black hair and mercury-colored eyes, Alpha King Theron Blackstone commanded the room without speaking a word. Power radiated from him in waves that made every Omega, including Madame Vesper, drop to their knees. Everyone except Liana. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe, could only stare as those moonlight eyes scanned the room before landing on her with the force of a hurricane. His nostrils flared, and something wild, something primal, flashed across his face. "You!" His voice was deeper than thunder, more commanding than any alpha tone she'd heard. "Stand." Liana's legs shook as she rose from her knees, acutely aware of her tattered servant's dress, her scarred face, her bloodied hands. She was everything an Alpha King shouldn't want, everything a mate shouldn't be. Theron crossed the room in 3 strides, and suddenly he was there, towering over her, his scent overwhelming every defense she'd built. His hand reached toward her face, and she flinched, expecting disgust when he saw her scars up close. But his fingers ghosted over the jagged line with unexpected gentleness. Who did this to you? I'm just a broken Omega, Lyanna whispered, her voice cracking, tears she'd held back for 3 years threatening to spill. You should choose someone else, someone whole. The room held its breath. Madame Vesper looked ready to faint. The other servants stared in shock. Then Alpha King Theron Blackstone, the most powerful wolf in 7 kingdoms, dropped to one knee before the scarred Omega servant. His hand cupped her face with infinite tenderness, and his next words shattered the silence like thunder. Then I'll be the one to mend you. Before Lyanna could process what was happening, Theron's eyes blazed with fury as he noticed her bloodied hands. He lifted them gently, seeing the wolfsbane burns, and a growl that shook the windows erupted from his chest. Who, he said, his voice deadly quiet, has been poisoning my mate? The silence that followed the Alpha King's words was deafening. Madame Vesper's face drained of all color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Your Majesty, Madame Vesper finally stammered. Surely there's been a mistake. This Omega is damaged goods. She can barely shift. Her wolf is practically feral. And Theron rose to his full height, keeping Lyanna's burned hands cradled carefully in his. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Did you just call my mate damaged goods? I only meant, Beta Commander Raziel, Theron called without looking away from Lyanna's face. A massive russet-colored wolf appeared in the doorway, shifting into a scarred warrior with calculating amber eyes. Arrest this woman for the torture of a royal mate. Use the silver chains. No, please, Your Majesty. I was following Alpha Kendrick's orders. He said she was dangerous, that her wolf needed to be suppressed. Lyanna felt Theron's entire body go rigid. Alpha Kendrick has been allowing the torture of Omegas in his pack? Not all Omegas, Vesper babbled desperately. Just her. She's from the Moonweaver pack, the pack of traitors. She could be a spy, a threat to— Silence! Theron's alpha command made everyone except Lyanna collapse. Even she swayed, but his arm wrapped around her waist, steadying her. To Raziel, he said, Bring Alpha Kendrick to the throne room. Now. Theron, Lyanna whispered, then caught herself. I mean, Your Majesty. Theron, he corrected softly, his mercury eyes gentling as they met hers. You will never bow to me, never call me by titles. You are my equal, my mate, my queen. But I can't even shift properly anymore, she confessed, shame burning her cheeks. The wolfsbane, the trauma. Saria barely speaks to me. How can I be a queen when I can't even be a proper wolf? Theron's hand cupped her scarred cheek. Show me your wolf. I can't. Trust me. His forehead pressed against hers, and suddenly, she felt it, his wolf, Fenris, the legendary beast that had never lost a battle, reaching out to Saria through their nascent mate bond. Let me help her. Lyanna closed her eyes, and for the first time in 2 years, she reached for Saria without fear. Her wolf responded, drawn by Fenris's strength, and slowly, painfully, she began to shift. It wasn't smooth or graceful like other wolves. It was fractured, stuttering, bones cracking wrong before clicking into place. Several servants gasped in horror, but Theron never let go, his power flowing into her, supporting her transformation. When it was complete, a small silver wolf stood where Lyanna had been. Her fur was patchy in places, scars visible even in wolf form, one ear torn. She was tiny compared to normal wolves, let alone an Alpha King's mate. But Theron looked at her like she was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. Magnificent, he breathed, and then he shifted. The room trembled as Fenris emerged, a massive black wolf, the size of a bear, with mercury eyes that held primordial force. He should have dwarfed the tiny silver wolf, should have terrified her. Instead, he gently nuzzled her neck, his enormous form curling protectively around her smaller one. Syria let out a small, fractured whine, and Fenris responded with a rumbling purr that seemed to say, "You're safe now. No one will hurt you again." They shifted back as one, and Lyanna found herself wrapped in Theron's jacket, her tattered dress having been destroyed in the shift. His guards had arrived, forming a protective circle with their backs turned, giving them privacy. "The Moonweaver pack," Theron said quietly. "They were destroyed 3 years ago. The report said there were no survivors. I was visiting my grandmother in a border village when it happened," Lyanna whispered, memories flooding back. "By the time I returned, everything was burning. My parents, my siblings, my entire pack, gone. I tried to save them, but I was too late. Too weak. I got these scars fighting the rogues, but I couldn't save anyone. Not even my baby sister." "How old was she?" "7. Lyanna's voice shattered. "Her name was Arya. She was hiding in our family's safe room, but the flames, the smoke. I couldn't get to her in time." Theron pulled her against his chest, and she realized the Alpha King was trembling with rage. The attack on Moonweaver Pack was reported as a rogue incident. "You're telling me it was coordinated?" Before she could answer, Alpha Kendrick burst into the room, his face purple with indignation. "What is the meaning of this, Your Majesty?" "My guards dragged me from my own ceremony preparations." He stopped dead when he saw Lyanna in Theron's arms. "Hello, Kendrick." Theron's voice was deceptively calm. "I've just discovered you've been torturing my mate, poisoning her with wolfsbane, keeping her as a slave." "Your mate?" Kendrick's eyes widened, then narrowed. "That's unthinkable. She's nobody. A refugee we took in out of charity. Her pack was full of traitors who consorted with rogues. Careful," Theron warned. "You're speaking about my future queen." Kendrick laughed, the sound harsh and mocking. "Queen? Her? Your Majesty, you must be mistaken. Perhaps the mate bond is confused. We have many suitable females here. My own daughter Celeste is—" "I found my mate." Theron cut him off. "Now, you'll explain why you've been torturing her, or I'll let Fenris extract the information personally." A commotion in the hallway interrupted them. A beautiful blonde woman in an elaborate ball gown swept in, her perfect features twisting in disgust when she saw Lyanna. "Father, what is that creature doing here wearing—" Celeste Crimson stopped, recognizing Theron's jacket. "Your Majesty?" "Perfect timing," Kendrick said smoothly. "Your Majesty, may I present my daughter Celeste? She's been preparing for months to meet you. Surely she's more suitable than my mate?" Theron's power flooded the room, and Celeste collapsed under the pressure. "Let me make something perfectly clear. Anyone who has hurt Lyanna, anyone who continues to disrespect her, will answer to me personally." But Celeste wasn't looking at Theron anymore. She was staring at Lyanna with a mixture of shock and something else. "Fear? You," Celeste whispered. "You're supposed to be dead." Lyanna's blood ran cold. "What?" "Nothing," Kendrick said quickly. "Celeste is confused." "No," Celeste continued, her voice strange, almost hypnotized. "I remember you. From that night. You weren't supposed to survive. He promised you wouldn't survive." "Who promised?" Theron demanded. Celeste's eyes rolled back, and when they returned, they were solid black. A different voice, deeper and definitely male, spoke through her lips. "The lost princess of Moonweaver still lives." How inconvenient. The voice coming from Celeste's lips sent ice through Liana's veins. She knew that voice had haunted her nightmares, belonged to the shadow that had orchestrated her pack's destruction. Malachar, she breathed, her body beginning to tremble. Theron's arm tightened around her, Fenris rising to the surface ready to fight. The Rogue King? He's supposed to be dead. The thing wearing Celeste's face laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Death is such a limiting concept for those of us who've mastered the old magic. Hello, little princess. I've been searching for you for 3 long years. I'm not a princess, Liana protested. But even as she said it, memories began surfacing, memories she'd buried beneath trauma and pain. Her mother teaching her to hide her true scent, her father's mysterious meetings, the ancient bloodline they never spoke about. Oh, but you are, Malachar purred through Celeste. The last of the Moonweaver royal line, the only one who can activate the lunar prophecy. Your parents hid you well, suppressing your true nature, making you believe you were just another Omega. But blood always tells, doesn't it? Kendrick had gone bone white, backing away from his possessed daughter. I didn't know. Lord Malachar, you said she was just a survivor, a loose end. You knew exactly what you were doing, Kendrick. Malachar's voice turned cold. Keeping her weak with Wolfsbane, ensuring she couldn't access her true power. You've been very useful. But now that the Alpha King has found her, Celeste's body convulsed, black veins spreading across her skin. You have 48 hours, Alpha King. Bring the princess to the Shadow Moon territory, or I'll activate the death curse I've placed on every unmated wolf in your kingdom. They're all connected to me now through the wine they'll drink at tonight's ceremony. The ceremony wine, Raziel growled. It's been distributed to all 7 kingdoms for the celebration. Exactly, Malachar laughed. Thousands will die at midnight on the 2nd day, unless you bring me the princess. And don't think about trying to break the curse. Only royal Moonweaver blood can do that, and she's the last. Liana stepped forward, despite Theron trying to hold her back. Let Celeste go. She's innocent in this. Innocent? Malachar made Celeste's face smile grotesquely. She's been poisoning you for 3 years, adding extra wolfsbane to your water, ensuring your wolf stayed fractured. All for Daddy's approval and the chance to be queen herself. That's enough, Theron snarled. Release the girl and face me yourself, coward. Tempting, but no. You have 48 hours. Come alone with the princess, or watch your kingdom fall. Celeste's eyes rolled back again, and she collapsed. Black smoke poured from her mouth, forming words in the air. The clock starts now. As the smoke dissipated, Celeste gasped, her normal blue eyes returning but filled with terror and guilt. 3 years of adding wolfsbane to Liana's water haunting her features. I remember everything. Oh, goddess, what have I done? Before anyone could respond, Liana's knees buckled. The room spun as power, ancient, massive, and completely foreign, suddenly erupted from within her. Her eyes blazed, not gold, but pure silver white, like the moon itself. No, 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 she gasped, clutching her head. It's too much. I can't. Every piece of glass in the room shattered. The marble floor cracked in spiraling patterns radiating from where she knelt. Wind that shouldn't exist indoors howled through the space, and everyone except Theron was forced to their knees by the sheer pressure of power. Liana! Theron reached for her, but the moment his skin touched hers, he gasped. Through their mate bond, he could feel it power older than kingdoms, older than the first wolves, flooding through her unprepared body. She really is the lost princess, Fenris rumbled in his mind. The last Luna of prophecy. What prophecy? Theron demanded aloud, holding Lyanna as she convulsed with power. It was Raziel who answered, his voice awed and terrified. The lunar prophecy speaks of the last royal moonweaver who would either unite all wolves under one moon or destroy them all. The power to command every wolf, alpha or omega, royal or rogue. The power to break any curse or create one that could end our entire species. That's why Malachar wants her. Kendrick wheezed from where he cowered on the floor. The father in him, warring with the coward he'd become. With her power under his control, he wouldn't just be a rogue king, he'd be the only king. Lyanna's back arched as more power poured through her, and when she screamed, it came out as a howl that every wolf for 100 miles heard. In the distance, answering howls rose not just from the Crimson Moon Pack, but from visiting wolves, from the forest, from everywhere. They were answering their true queen's call. "Make it stop," Lyanna sobbed, her scarred hands now glowing with silver light. "Please, I don't want this power. I don't want to be special. I just wanted to survive." Theron pulled her fully into his lap, his own alpha power wrapping around her chaotic energy, trying to contain it. "Listen to me, my mate. You are not alone in this. I'm here. I've got you. I can't control it. I'll hurt everyone, just like I couldn't save them." "You won't," Theron said firmly. Then, he did something that made everyone gasp. He bared his throat to her, the Alpha King, showing ultimate submission. "I trust you, Lyanna. My mate, my queen, my equal. Take what you need from me. Let me anchor you." Through the storm of power, Lyanna's tear-filled eyes met his. "You would trust a broken Omega with your life?" "You're not broken," Theron said softly. "You're becoming. And I'll stand by you through every second of it." Lyanna's glowing hands reached for his throat, and everyone held their breath. One wrong move and she could kill the Alpha King. Instead, she gently placed her palm against his pulse point, and slowly, carefully, began cycling her chaotic power through their mate bond. Theron groaned as the foreign magic hit him, but he didn't pull away. Through their connection, he felt everything, her pain, her loss, her fear, but also her incredible strength. She'd survived what would have destroyed most wolves. She'd endured years of torture without shattering completely. She wasn't just a lost princess or a prophesied Luna. She was a survivor, a fighter, and now she was his. The power finally began to stabilize, the silver glow fading to a soft luminescence under her skin. When Lyanna opened her eyes, they were changed still brown, but with silver stars scattered through the irises like a galaxy. 48 hours, she said quietly, her voice carrying new authority. "He has my pack's blood on his hands. He's threatened innocent wolves, and he made a mistake." "What mistake?" Raziel asked. Lyanna stood, and even in Theron's too large jacket, even with her scars and small stature, she looked every inch a queen. He forgot that Moonweaver wolves were known for one particular trait. She smiled, and it was sharp as a blade. "We never forgive those who harm our pack." The grand ceremony hall had been transformed into a glittering showcase of power and wealth, but Lyanna felt like she was walking into a battlefield. Theron had insisted on having his personal attendants prepare her, and now she stood before a mirror barely recognizing herself. Gone was the scarred servant in tattered rags. The midnight blue gown they'd chosen seemed to be woven from starlight itself, and somehow, miraculously, her scars had been incorporated into the look silver paint traced along them like constellation maps, making them appear as if she'd been kissed by stars rather than marred by violence. "You're shaking," Theron observed, entering her temporary chambers. He stopped mid-stride, his mercury eyes darkening as they traveled over her. Goddess above, you're breathtaking. Those wolves out there are expecting someone powerful, regal, not a scarred Omega who just learned she's supposedly royalty. Theron crossed to her in 3 strides, his hands settling on her waist. Do you know what I see? I see a survivor who's about to show the entire wolf world that strength isn't about perfect bloodlines or unmarred skin. There's something else, Raziel said, appearing in the doorway with a grim expression. We've tested the ceremony wine. It's definitely cursed but dormant. If we don't serve it, Malachar will know we're aware of his plan. So we serve it but don't let anyone drink? Liana suggested. 3,000 wolves, all expecting a toast? Raziel shook his head, unmanageable without raising suspicion. Liana closed her eyes, feeling the strange new power humming under her skin. What if we let them drink? Are you insane? Raziel snarled before catching himself. My apologies, future Luna, but I can feel the curse. It's like a web of dark magic, and my power. It wants to unweave it, but I'd need to be connected to every wolf who drinks. Theron's hands tightened on her waist. Connected how? Through pack bonds. If they acknowledge me as their Luna, even temporarily I might be able to. Screams from the ballroom cut her off. They ran to the balcony and saw chaos wolves shifting uncontrollably with black eyes, attacking anyone nearby. In the center stood a figure in a blood-red cloak. Malachar, Theron growled. But when the figure threw back the hood, it wasn't the rogue king. It was a woman with silver hair and eyes like chips of ice, beautiful and terrible. Hello, little princess, the woman called up. I'm Seraphina, Malachar's mate. Did you think we'd really wait 48 hours? You activated the curse early? Only for those who've already drunk. Consider it motivation. You have 30 minutes before it becomes permanent. Surrender yourself, or watch 1,000 wolves become rabid beasts forever. Don't, Theron commanded, grabbing Liana. It's a trap. Of course it's a trap, Liana said quietly. But those are innocent wolves. She turned to Raziel. I need you to use the Alpha King's authority. Command everyone who hasn't turned to submit to me as their Luna. Now, that's not how mate bonds work. I'm not using mate bonds, Liana said, power rising like a tide. I'm using something older. The Moonweaver Pack's ancient right of protection, but I need them to accept me first. They entered the ballroom like a force of nature. Theron's alpha command rang out. Kneel before your Luna! The compulsion was so strong that even visiting alphas dropped. Liana stood in the center, raised her hands, and let her power explode outward in a silver wave. Every wolf it touched gasped, as she connected to them not through pack bonds, but through something ancient. The blessing of the moon goddess herself, carried in Moonweaver blood. I see you, Liana whispered, her voice echoing in every wolf's mind. I see your pain, your fear, your rage. Let me carry it. The cursed wolves turned toward her, snarling. Seraphina laughed. You can't cleanse them all. You'll burn out before you save even half. But Liana wasn't trying to cleanse them. She was drawing the curse into herself like poison from a wound. Black veins spread up her arms, her silver glow flickering. Her scars began burning, reopening, bleeding silver. Trust me, she gasped to Theron. The curse fought her, trying to corrupt her from within. You think you're saving them? Seraphina taunted. You're just concentrating the curse. When you fall, it will explode outward with 10 times the force. That's what I'm counting on. Liana gritted out. She thought of her losses, her pack, her sister, 3 years of torture, all that pain she'd been carrying like poison, but poison could become medicine in the right hands. Malachar assumed my pain made me weak, but every scar, every moment of agony, they didn't shatter me. They forged me. Her eyes turned pure white like the full moon. My turn. The black veins suddenly blazed silver, the curse inverting into something else. Every infected wolf gasped as darkness was ripped from them, condensing above Liana into a writhing sphere. Beyond comprehension, Seraphina breathed, backing away. Converted, Liana said, reshaping the malevolent magic. Every curse is just a blessing perverted. The sphere pulsed above Liana as she worked to reshape it, sweat beading on her forehead. My mother used to tell me stories. Said our bloodline didn't just carry power, it carried memory, the knowledge of every moonweaver who came before. Let it detonate, Seraphina snarled, pulling out a glowing blade. Theron caught her wrist mid-strike. You dare attack my mate? Seraphina smiled, even with claws at her throat. I don't need to. Look. Liana was bleeding silver from her eyes, nose, and ears. The transformed energy was too much for her body. Liana, stop, Theron commanded. Can't. If I let go now, it explodes. Then share it with me. Theron released Seraphina to Raziel and pressed his palm against Liana's back. The incomplete mate bond flared to life. Through it came her memories. A little girl learning to hide. Parents dying to keep her secret safe. They loved you so much. Theron breathed. Not enough to tell me the truth, Liana said bitterly, crying silver tears. They prepared you perfectly, a new voice said. Elder Morgana stood in the entrance with her moon-phase staff, blind eyes seeing everything. Hello, little moon. I felt your call. Every Moonweaver survivor felt it. Survivors? The sphere above Liana fluctuated dangerously. 17 of us, scattered and hidden, waiting for you. Morgana placed her hand over Theron's. You're controlling a curse meant to kill thousands. You're extraordinary. She tapped her staff, and 17 silver-eyed wolves materialized the Moonweaver Royal Guard, scarred but alive. Captain Cassian. Liana recognized her father's best friend. Now I'm your sword, princess. Give the energy to us, Morgana said. 19 souls to share what was meant for thousands. It could kill you. Then we die protecting our princess, Cassian said firmly. Seraphina laughed from Raziel's grip. Even if you survive, Malachar has 50,000 rogues bound by blood magic. She has more than that, Kendrick said from the doorway, his eyes clear and determined. Behind him, Celeste stood pale, but resolved, guilt eating at her visibly. I've been a coward, Kendrick announced. But watching this Omega, this queen risk everything for wolves who tormented her. He knelt. The Crimson Moon Pack serves you, Luna Liana. Other alphas began kneeling. Each pledge added power to the room. Release it through us, Morgana commanded. Trust your pack. Liana looked at the faces around her enemies, becoming allies, all united by her sacrifice. Together, she whispered. The sphere exploded into silver light, racing through every kneeling wolf, connecting them in a web of pure lunar energy. The Moonweaver survivors glowed like small moons. When the light faded, every wolf bore a silver crescent moon mark above their hearts. What did you do? Seraphina demanded. I blessed you. Every wolf here now carries Moonweaver protection. Malachar's blood magic can't control you anymore. Black smoke poured from Seraphina's mouth, forming Malachar's visage. You think you've won? I'm coming with hell behind me, looking directly at Liana. Your sister's spirit was trapped at death, preserved in agony, screaming your name. The shadow dissipated. Liana stood straighter, rage transforming into purpose. Malachar wants war? Then war he'll have. but not on his terms. The War Council convened in the ancient chamber, maps scattered across the strategy table. What Lyanna proposed had never been attempted. You want to walk directly into his trap? Raziel stared at her incredulously. It's unexpected. Malachar expects us to fortify. He won't expect us within 12 hours. Because it's suicide, Kendrick said. His fortress is on cursed ground. Wolves can't shift there without his permission. Normal wolves can't, Morgana corrected. But those marked by Lyanna's blessing aren't normal. Cassian spread out intelligence. 3 walls outer holds human slaves and lesser rogues. Second houses elite guard. Inner sanctum for rituals. And he has something else. The void crown, it can strip wolf nature permanently. That's why he needs me, Lyanna realized. Moonweaver blood activates it. So don't go, Theron said firmly. While 50,000 rogues tear through innocent packs, Lyanna shook her head. I'm going now, while he thinks he has 48 hours. But not as his prisoner, she continued. As the last Moonweaver princess, with the Alpha King as my mate. Celeste spoke up, shame in her voice. The ceremony wine was sent to other packs. If Malachar activates them, he won't. He needs an audience for my destruction. Lyanna looked at Celeste. Want redemption? Lead the evacuation of human settlements around Shadowmoon. Yes, Luna, Celeste whispered. We do this properly first, Theron said. Complete our mate bond. You need my strength. Within minutes, the courtyard filled with witnesses. Lyanna spoke first, unprecedented for a Luna. I stand before you as a scarred survivor who was fractured, beaten, and poisoned. Many of you participated. Several wolves lowered their heads in shame. But I also stand as proof that damage doesn't mean defeated, that scars become strength. She turned to Theron. I choose you not because you're the Alpha King, but because you saw me when I couldn't see myself. And I choose you, Theron replied, eyes glistening. Because you saved wolves who hurt you. Because you're the strongest wolf I've ever met. Then let's break one more rule, Lyanna said. As equals. They bit simultaneously. Power exploded outward, not typical mate bond energy, but something ancient and wild. Silver and black energy twisted in harmony, fundamentally shifting pack magic itself. Through their completed bond, Lyanna gasped. You've been searching for me specifically. You knew the prophecy. Before Theron could respond, twisted howls pierced the night. He knows, Cassian growled. Malachar felt the bond complete. Listen to the pattern, Morgana said, face pale. The organized howls came from every direction. He's not in Shadowmoon, Lyanna breathed. He's here. The ground cracked. Black roots erupted, wrapping around wolves. Red eyes glowed from shadows. Hundreds of rogues pouring from sewers and rooftops. Earth split in the courtyard's center. Malachar himself rose 8 feet tall, neither wolf nor man, ritual scars glowing with stolen power. While my armies gathered at Shadowmoon as decoys, I tunneled here through ancient caves. He fixed his gaze on Lyanna. Time to finish what I started 3 years ago. Face me alone, Lyanna challenged. Who said I want you alive? Malachar raised his hand. Every rogue attacked. Lyanna smiled sharply. Who said you're the only one with surprises? She pressed her palm to earth. Every silver mark blazed. Blessed wolves began glowing, forms becoming fluid. Unprecedented, Malachar snarled. Evolution, Lyanna said, her form shifting into something between wolf and human. Theron transformed beside her through their bond. Behold the Luna Prime and her equal mate, Morgana announced. Evolution begins now. Malakar's smile faltered. What have you done? What my ancestors intended. Not just surviving, becoming. The battle erupted into primal violence. Liana's new form, luminous and terrible, moved through rogues like divine retribution. Every strike released silver fire that didn't just wound but purified, turning corrupted wolves back or to dust. You think evolution makes you special? Malakar laughed, his form shifting into something monstrous, black scales, shadow wings spreading. I've been evolving for decades, feeding on alpha essence. He appeared behind Liana faster than sight. Theron intercepted, their collision shattering windows for miles. Around them, the battle raged. For every fallen rogue, 2 more emerged. Luna! The human villages! Celeste screamed. Choose, princess, Malakar taunted, holding up a burned wooden wolf, Arya's toy. Save humans now, or learn what really happened to dear Arya. You said she died in smoke. Liana's voice turned deadly quiet. She died screaming your name. I never said when. He pulled out a crystal vial of swirling silver essence. Your sister's wolf spirit, preserved in suffering. Rage erupted from Liana's core. Silver marks flared so bright night became day. Give her back. She lunged with physics, defying speed. Malakar danced away, shattering part of the vial. Arya's young, agonized voice filled the air. Leah, where are you? It hurts. Something inside Liana snapped. Raw energy exploded in waves, making everyone stumble. Don't! That's what he wants! Morgana shouted. Then I choose to unleash it, Liana snarled. Through their bond, she told Theron, trust me. When I signal, evacuate everyone. She stalked toward Malakar. You want to see true Moonweaver power? Yes, he breathed with anticipation. Liana smiled terribly. Remember, you asked. She howled, not wolf, like but something predating wolves. The moon responded, becoming full instantly, growing larger, its light focusing on her. What are you doing? Malakar roared fearfully. Something only a true Moonweaver royal can do once. The reckoning. The ground cracked in perfect spirals. Every wolf spirit felt pulled toward her. No, Morgana gasped. That will kill you. I know, Liana replied with eternal eyes. The reckoning would call every wolf essence within 100 miles into the caster, then explode outward in devastating purification. The caster never survived. Stop. There has to be another way. Theron roared through their screaming bond. There is no other way. He has Arya's spirit. She looked at him with love and sorrow. But you'll survive. The mate bond protects you. I don't want to survive without you. And I don't want to live knowing she's trapped. But maybe neither of us has to. She turned to Malakar, desperately trying to retreat but pulled by the same force. You made one mistake. You kept her spirit in a vial, separated. Do you know what happens when Moonweaver blood touches preserved spirit? His eyes widened. You can't. I can bring her back. But first, I need that vial. She moved like lightning. Malakar tried fighting, but stolen power was being stripped away, revealing the pathetic, scarred wolf beneath. The truth? He snarled as she approached. Your parents knew you were prophesied. They let Arya die to trigger your awakening. Liana faltered momentarily. Malakar struck with a poisoned blade. But she laughed brokenly. You think I didn't know? They sacrificed one daughter for all wolves, but they didn't know their daughters well. She grabbed the blade, pushing it deeper. The reckoning requires a life, but not which life or when. She shattered the vial completely, catching Arya's escaping spirit, feeding it her blood and power. You're not performing the reckoning, Morgana realized. You're inverting it. Instead of taking and exploding, I'm giving my spirit to restore what was lost. That's unachievable, Malachar gasped. Is exactly what we have, Theron said beside Liana, pouring his alpha strength through their bond. Understanding spread. Blessed wolves placed hands on the pair, forming a power chain. You'd all die for her? Malachar couldn't comprehend. We'd all live for her, Cassian corrected. Power reached critical mass. Arya's spirit solidified a small girl with Lyanna's eyes, unscarred, untouched. I'll anchor her, Lyanna decided, pulling Arya's spirit into herself. 2 souls, 1 body. You'll go mad, Malachar warned genuinely. Everything unprecedented has been done by someone first. The merger exploded the world into silver fire. Every rogue either purified or dissolved. Malachar screamed as stolen powers ripped away, leaving him scarred, ancient, pathetic. But the merger was too much. Lyanna's body convulsed. 2 voices from one throat, form shifting rapidly. Can't. Control. Celeste stepped forward. I know compartmentalization from Malachar's possession. She shared techniques for separating 2 minds in one body. Slowly, Lyanna stabilized. When she opened her eyes, one was brown, one silver. Leah? Came Arya's child voice. I've got you, little moon. You're safe. The aftermath was surreal. Liberated wolves stood confused where rogues had been. Malachar knelt, aged beyond measure. Kill me, he begged. Death would be mercy, Lyanna said, both voices harmonizing. She gave him back his conscience, every crime flooding back without madness's buffer. Live with it, she commanded. The humans, Raziel remembered. Safe, a scout reported. The reckoning stopped attacking rogues. Lyanna swayed, maintaining 2 spirits hitting hard. We need a solution, Theron said to Morgana. A willing vessel for the younger spirit, the elder suggested. A young Omega girl stood vacant, eyed with her parents. Rogue attack last year, the father explained tearfully. Her spirit was destroyed. Lyanna studied the empty child. She's physically perfect but empty. Could you? The mother began hopefully. Arya would essentially become your child, Lyanna warned. The parents nodded. Our daughter's gone. If her body gives another child life. The separation ritual required all 17 Moonweavers circling. Sure about this, little moon? Lyanna asked internally. I want to grow up, Arya admitted. Silver light flowed from Lyanna into the vacant child. The girl's eyes blazed silver, then settled brown. Leah? Arya said with her new voice. I'm real again. The adoptive parents approached cautiously. Arya looked at them wisely. I know you're not my first parents, but maybe you could be my second chance parents. The mother pulled Arya into her arms, crying, We'll love you as our own. New problems emerged, 30,000 confused former rogues needing structure. They need purpose, Kendrick observed. Then we'll give them new ways, Lyanna decided. A confederation of equals, united by choice. That's never been done, Raziel said. Wolves have always had hierarchy, Theron interrupted. But Lyanna proved we can evolve. 3 days later, history's largest wolf gathering convened in the battlefield ruins. Alphas, freed rogues, blessed wolves, and human representatives who'd learned of the supernatural. For centuries, we've lived by strength alone, Lyanna began. But strength without wisdom led to Malachar. I propose something different, a council of equals with shared leadership. That's chaos, a Northern Alpha shouted. I'm suggesting democracy, Lyanna corrected. Hours of debate raged until Arya stood. "You're arguing about power, but didn't we learn what happens when power matters more than people?" "The child speaks sense," Morgana said. "Honor tradition while embracing change." A compromise emerged: the Pack Alliance, maintaining individual structures but united under Equal Representation Council. "This is weakness," Alpha Remus snarled with 50 traditional alphas. "You're destroying what makes us wolves." "Then leave," Theron said simply. "But know any pack that abuses omegas or practices blood magic becomes our enemy." Remus's eyes lingered on Arya threateningly before leaving. "This alliance will crumble." "Watch them," Lyanna murmured. "Already on it," Raziel confirmed. 6 months passed. The alliance strengthened. Former enemies cooperating. Freed rogues became dedicated citizens. Lyanna and Theron ruled jointly, a radical but effective concept. "Luna, Alpha King!" A bloodied scout burst in. "Northern borders Remus allied with vampires." Lyanna pressed his temples, seeing his memories. "Ancient vampires." "Not just any," Theron growled, scenting wounds. "Old ones. They've taken 3 packs overnight." The scout gasped. "Remus is neither wolf nor vampire, something between." "A hybrid should be unachievable," Morgana said, horrified. "Like 2 spirits in one body?" Lyanna interrupted grimly. Reports flooded in vampire-wolf armies moving in darkness. "Evacuate humans," Celeste said. "No, we don't run," Lyanna said firmly. "Remus wants to prove old ways are stronger. Let's show him evolution." "You have a plan?" Theron asked. "Vampires exist on stolen life force. What if it's willingly given, not stolen but shared?" "It would poison them," Cassian realized. "Or transform them," Lyanna countered. But darkness gathered on the horizon, nightmares approaching. Sunset brought the attack. Remus led magnificently, terrible, with light-absorbing fur, venomous fangs, red fire eyes. "Behold your future," he roared. "True power, both races' strengths, neither's weaknesses." Hybrid armies tore through outer defenses. Lyanna walked out to meet them with Theron and Arya. "What did you sacrifice, Remus?" "Only limitations. Vampire lords gave true strength." "And asked what in return?" Behind him, ancient vampires materialized. Their leader, living darkness with dying star eyes, spoke. "The wolf gave us moon access. We freed him from celestial slavery. You severed his moon goddess connection." Lyanna understood. The ancient vampire struck at Arya faster than thought. But Arya unleashed golden phoenix fire. The vampire transformed back into its terrified human origin. Unprecedented. Remus roared. Battle erupted. Lyanna faced a terrible choice: use the reckoning again, truly dying this time. "There's another way," she realized. "Stop!" Her authority froze everyone. "I offer a challenge of truth. Let's see which path the moon goddess favors." The moon split, half silver white, half crimson. "Choose." The goddess's voice spoke. "But no consequences." Crimson offered power, but emptiness. Silver offered belonging, but responsibility. "False choice," Lyanna announced, standing between both lights. "Why not balance?" The lights swirled, mixing into pearl white with gold veins. Transformations began, hybrids regaining connections, vampires feeling warmth. But Remus fought it. "I chose power." "Power alone, without connection," Lyanna said sadly, extending her hand. "Let us help." For a moment, the lost wolf Remus was looked out. "I can't remember why." "Because you were afraid of weakness. But strength is connection." Remus stared at Lyanna's hand, trembling. The mixed moonlight offered healing. but his corrupted nature warred against it. I've done too much. My mate, my pups, I killed them for power, then lived to honor their memory, Lyanna said, hand still extended. The ancient vampire lord abandoned its fight with Theron, merging with shadow. If I cannot have this world, then none shall. Darkness poured out the null, void itself consuming reality. Everyone back, Morgana shouted, but backing away wouldn't help. The void spread everywhere. We need unified power, Lyanna shouted. Everyone! Wolf! Vampire! Hybrid human! Even joined. The void kept spreading. From his cell, broken Malachar spoke. You need an anchor, someone who's touched void and survived. Me. You've used void magic, Lyanna realized. To my damnation, but I can anchor containment if I'm truly ready for redemption. Arya walked to his cell without hesitation. Then I'll help. She placed her hand on his head. Phoenix fire meeting broken spirit. I forgive you for everything. Now forgive yourself. Malachar broke, centuries of guilt crumbling. Where his tears touched ground, flowers grew. I remember before darkness. I learned magic to heal, to protect. He transformed not monster or wolf, but guardian spirit glowing green. I can hold it, but not alone. You won't be, Remus said, finally taking Lyanna's hand, his hybrid form harmonizing. He stood with Malachar. One by one, others joined. Vampires choosing transformation, wolves choosing evolution, humans choosing to stand with supernatural. Unprecedented unity formed. Now we show the void what it's missing, Lyanna said, singing pure emotion, the full spectrum of existence. The void, faced with life's fullness, retreated, but the vampire lord struck at the moon from within void. If not darkness, then none have light. Cracks spread across the moon. Every wolf cried out. The mate bond transcends space, Theron realized. They joined souls completely, sending everyone's energy up through their bond. The moon received their offering. Everyone felt what the moon goddess felt: loneliness, joy, pain, hope. My children, you've learned the greatest truth. All are one under moon's light. The moon healed, but remained changed silver, with gold veins marking its wounding and healing. The void collapsed, taking the vampire lord. The supernatural world could no longer hide after the visible battle. But humans reached out with curiosity rather than panic. We need new laws for a world where humans know, Kendrick said. We have bridges between worlds. Lyanna smiled at their mixed gathering. 3 nights later, vampire lords arrived. Not army, but embassy. Show us this evolution. Transformed vampires walked in diluted daylight. Evolved wolves showed abilities beyond shifting. Lyanna and Theron demonstrated true partnership through their unique bond. This is heresy. Some vampire lords protested. Nature evolves, Morgana interrupted. That's its fundamental law. Some vampires left. Others stayed, hopeful. Why offer this to enemies? A young vampire asked. Enemies are just friends who haven't found common ground. Lyanna smiled. That's hope. 1 year later, the Alliance had become the Global Supernatural Council. Lyanna stood in the memorial garden where she'd first scented Theron, her hand on her swollen belly. Nervous? Theron asked, embracing her from behind. Terrified. What if our child can't control inherited power? Then we'll teach them with truth, not hiding. Arya ran up, now 10, controlling Phoenix fire remarkably. The ceremony's starting. Lyanna addressed thousands wolves, vampires, humans, and more. A year ago, I was a broken Omega, scarred and poisoned. Today, I stand still scarred, but understanding our breaks let light in. She looked at Remus leading the Redemption Guard, Malakar's spirit teaching young mages, Celeste as the first voluntary human-wolf hybrid. We've all been fractured, but we've learned damage doesn't mean defeated. It means rebuilding stronger. Thunder rumbled promisingly. Rain fell like liquid silver and gold in moonlight. A wolf pup born post-transformation began howling joyfully. Others joined wolves, vampires, humans creating unprecedented harmony. That's evolution's sound, Morgana said tearfully. The baby kicked, responding. Through their bond, Lyanna sensed the child's nature neither fully wolf nor human, but something needing both worlds. Whatever comes, we're ready, she whispered. Together? Theron asked knowingly. Together. A messenger arrived urgently. Ships without wind approach, crewed by beings of salt and storm. Merfolk? Raziel guessed. Flying parley flag, the messenger confirmed. Well, Arya grinned mischievously. Evolution continues. Send an embassy, Lyanna commanded. Peace if they come peacefully. If for war, we're not easy prey. She hoped for peace, time for building, not breaking. As ceremony continued under the transformed moon, one certainty remained. Hiding was over. Unity had begun. And somewhere in the crowd, a scarred Omega servant whispered, "We're all broken, but broken together, we're whole." 5 years later, "Mama, tell the story." Lyanna smiled at daughter Luna, whose silver gold eyes held wolf and phoenix fire, Arya's birth gift. "Which story, little star, where you were broken but became whole?" Theron entered with, their son dragon scales beneath human skin. The supernatural world had grown beyond imagination. "That story never ends," he said. "We're all still becoming." Through the window, the transformed moon shone, on a world where the unprecedented became every day, where enemies worked together, where broken souls found redemption, where a scarred Omega servant became the bridge between worlds, proving the most fractured things create the most beautiful light. Once upon a time, Lyanna began, children close, there was an Omega who whispered, "I'm just broken." And the Alpha King said, "Then I'll be the one to mend you." Luna finished excitedly. "But here's the secret," Lyanna whispered. "They mended each other. Because that's what love does, makes us whole." Outside, the world evolved, facing challenges with unity. And in a small nursery, an unprecedented family proved love could overcome anything, even death itself. The broken had become whole, the cursed, blessed, and the story, like evolution itself, continued.